directions. The direction you are facing is north.
ভাই
At your right, east.
সিটি
At
ডাব
your
করে দিচ্ছি
left,
এমনিতে
forward,
আমি
and before
সিটি ডাব
the
করা
end.
আছে
At village Barrow, there is an
ঠিক আছে
ammunition
ভাই
cache of the
জি ভাই জি
miscreants
ভাই
in the villagers. Their aim is
ভাই
to
আমি আপনার
inflict
কথাটা বুঝি
fear
নাই
of
আবার একটু
killing.
বলেন এখানে অনেক সাউন্ড
You
সরি
can see the ongoing terrorist activities in the village.
ও উজ্জ্বলকে কল দিছিলেন ও না 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 না, আমি বলতে
On the
অলরেডি শুরু হয়েছে
actionable
ভাই
intelligence,
প্রোগ্রাম
sector headquarters has formed a task force to carry out the operation at village Barrow to protect civilian and discover
টেক্সটটা দিও
cache.
তো টেক্সটটা
The task force is composed of multinational troops which carry out Operation Python Down. During this operation, peacekeepers are expected to cordon the village that has potential ID threat en route. Furthermore, task force is likely to call special forces support and air support for casualty evacuation. Towards the end of the operation, a female engagement team would be integrated to assist the victims of conflict-related sexual violence by the terrorist armed groups. At the end, the task force would hand over the apprehended terrorist armed groups to UN civil police and local police, while UN agencies would take responsibilities of the victim, indicating stability of the situation, marking the end of the exercise.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can see a UAV is flying over the village now as part of the real-time intelligence gathering. May I also draw your attention at your front. While the UAV is patrolling over the village, the terrorist armed groups have chased the villagers and they are creating nuisance. Few villagers are being tormented and harassed and also being apprehended by the miscreants. At this stage, Task Force Commander is en route and conducting unmanned aerial vehicle operation to gain real-time intelligence of the village. Ladies and gentlemen, at your front, you can see a drone is flying over the village to gather real-time intelligence. By now, we have come to know that an ammunition cache of the terrorist groups might be there in village Baron. We can also notice that they are inflicting the fear of killing in the minds of the peace-loving villagers of Baron and taking hostage forcefully in their houses. At this stage, it has been obligatory for the peacekeepers to save the innocent villagers from the clutch of the terrorists. Meanwhile, peacekeeping forces are supposed to establish cordon at a distance of 400 to 500 meters away from the place of incident.
Owing to the limitations of our view and ground, let us assume that outer cordon is already established around the village Barrow. Ladies and gentlemen, may I draw your kind attention at the outskirts of the exercise village. APCs along the outskirts of the village carrying the UN peacekeepers are approaching to occupy the inner cordon. After establishing outer cordon instrumentally, the inner cordon is about to be established at the distance at around 200 yards from the outer edge of the village.
Distinguished audience, as you can see, the brutalities and atrocities by the terrorist armed groups have brought down the decision point to induct the peacekeeping force to carry out a cordon and search operation at village Baron. Considering the complexity of the operation, the task force is formed as a multinational force. Ladies and gentlemen, the terrorists have rampaged through the village and created panic among the villagers. The village Baron represent the ideal situation of mission area where...
Dear audience, let us concentrate at our full right of the village. After ensuring the cordon, the task force commander with his force is heading towards the residence of the village chief for necessary negotiation about the cordon and search operation.
Chief for cordon and search operation. Let us listen to the conversation between the task force commander and village chief.
Hello, my friend. Are you the chief of this village?
Yes. What do you want?
We are United Nations peacekeepers. We have information that there are few miscreants hiding inside your village. We have come to get them.
No. There is nothing you can do. You can leave.
Listen, we are your friend.
Friend. Yeah, don't afraid. Come outside.
Now, the villagers are called by the village chief to assemble in a particular place at your right side. Dear audience, as you see at your right, a separate enclosure is being arranged with a green cloth for checking the females separately. Ladies and gentlemen, the villagers are approaching in response to village chief. After successful negotiation with the village chief, the peacekeepers have started physical checking of the villagers to ensure the safety and security of the operation. Standard physical checking methods are followed to detect if any terrorists are hidden amongst the villagers with any illegal arms or ammunition. The first and foremost aim of UN peacekeeping mission is to protect the civilians and safeguard human rights. After completion of checking, the villagers are being taken in a secure place. Now, the task force commander shall further confirm the presence of all villagers.
Chief, is there anyone left in your village?
You can see the light armored vehicle, in short LAV, of search and rescue team heading to launch the drill. After completing 5 meters check, they are broadening up to 25 meters area checking around the LAV.
Ladies and gentlemen, a serious explosion has just occurred, resulting few peacekeepers injured. Concurrently, the terrorists have also started firing towards the peacekeepers. After firing few rounds, they are now returning to their stronghold at Block 4. At this stage, the subgroup commander is sending initial report to the task force commander.
Tango Tango Charlie 1, over. Charlie 1, send over. Tango 5, encountered with one ID. We have 2 men down, over. Charlie 1, immediately send 10 report and call for EOD team, over. Tango 5, Roger, over. I have an ID emergency. Date, 12 April, 0945 hours. Break, GR, 599332. Break, there is one suspected ID. Break. Incident commander, Major Akshay. Break. No hostile activity found yet. Break. There is possibility of secondary ID attack and there is possibility of complex.
At this instance, EOD team has entered at the site for search and casualty evacuation in different stages or in different needs, where peacekeeping the important parts of any operation in United Mission area. Today's scenario, After encountering suspected ID site, the peacekeepers have stopped and Yodi team has arrived after being called to carry out counter ID drill. Now the Yodi team is carrying out all possible scanning of the ground to find out any possible explosives. Distinguished guests, after getting clearance from Yodi team, medical first responders will carry out primary treatment to save the lives of the injured peacekeepers. The subgroup commander will give initial casualty report to task force commander.
Tango 5 for Charlie 1, over. Charlie 1 sent, over. Tango 5, I have 2 persons seriously injured. I need immediate carry over, over. Charlie 1, give 9-liner report and call.
In different subgroups known as engagement teams. The engagement teams are entering the village for cordon and search operation. In the process, the engagement teams will also conduct house clearing drill, apprehension of miscreants, pacification and medical attention to the victim. Simultaneously, the subgroup commander of counter ID team will give 9-liner report to task force commander at the place of explosion. Here to note that 9-liner is a prescribed format of radio report. It is sent to concerned authority by the local commander as casualty report. Let us listen to the 9-liner report.
Tango 5, I have casualty request, I have casualty request, I have casualty request. Line 1, GR 633278, northeast of Golden Triangle. Take. Line 2, 322, decimal 12, White Pigeon. Take. Line 3, 1 Alpha, 1 Bravo. Take. Line 4, 1 Delta. Take. Right. Over.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I draw your attention to Block 2. The engagement teams have already embarked on Block 2. For the better clarification of the incident, the front wall of the brick-built house is removed and the engagement team is carrying out the operation considering it as a room. The engagement team has found distressed female victims in the houses of Block 2. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see a miscreant has just fired towards the peacekeepers and fled away.
The promptness and rapid actions is the key to success in peace enforcement operation as displayed in this scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, may I draw your attention at your front. An APC ambulance has entered the village. You can see the peacekeepers have apprehended few miscreants within the Block 2 huts. And now we can see an injured peacekeeper is being carried by fireman lifting method to evacuate him by the APC ambulance for further medical attention.
Respected audience, at the same time, the engagement team also calls for female engagement team. Let us listen to the conversation between the subgroup commander and the task.
Over. I have detained one suspect in house number 1. Break. There is one female blazer. Break. She is injured and traumatized. Break. Requesting for female engagement team. Over. Charlie 1 blazer. I'm calling for female engagement team. Over. Tango 2 blazer.
Being asked, the task force commander will call the female engagement team in the place of incident to hand.
Blazer. Over.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, the female engagement team is appearing with an APC at Block 2. The female engagement team is entering to take over the charge of distressed ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, the main approach towards the female victims. Bangladesh has been recognized as one of the pioneers in employing female engagement team at different UN missions for female engagement activities. Dear audience, as you see at your front, the subgroup commander is briefing the female engagement team commander about the latest situation to be taken over. The female engagement team is a specialized team consisting of professional female soldiers. You see, the female engagement team led by Major Tani is pacifying and interacting with a female victim. Let us listen to the conversation between the female engagement team commander and a rape victim at Block 2.
Okay, cool down, just calm down. We are here to help you, sister. We're just like your sister. Don't be afraid. Don't be panicked. Is everything okay for you?
2 to 4 persons.
Okay, where are your relatives now?
I don't know, they flew.
Did you get...
No.
It's okay, sister. You stay here. I am going...
Charlie 1, over. Charlie 1, over. Equan, 2 female patients need immediate medical support. Over. Charlie 1, provide medical fast response by your team. Break and sending request. Over.
The progress extremely difficult. On retaliation, the peacekeepers are also firing. At this stage of the scenario, the peacekeepers are facing extreme difficulty to cripple forward. On the left and 2 APCs from the right are rushing towards Block 4 and 5 for reinforcement. On arrival of the APCs, the peacekeepers have started repositioning themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, may I draw your attention to Block 4. At this stage, the task force operating in Block 1 and 3 are at hold due to strong resistance offered from Block 4. Consequently, Task Force Commander has felt the necessity of support from the Special Forces. Instantly, the Task Force Commander is asking the support of the Special Forces to the sector headquarters.
On request for induction of special forces in operation area, the special force denoted as Black Zero is going to arrive to take over the situation arising at Block 4. Special force, which is said to be the commander's punch, is going to neutralize the enemy with a robust posture. Special forces are trained with counter-terrorism. They are also equipped with modern gadgets to operate in various hostile environments like contaminated area or isolated area occupied under enemy threat. Special forces are well-equipped military units trained to conduct special operations manned with selected specialized personnel using unconventional tactics, techniques, and modes of deployment. They are capable of special reconnaissance, counterinsurgency, counter-terrorism operation, sabotage, demolition, and hostage rescue. Special force personnel undergo careful selection process or mission-specific training beyond basic military skill. They maintain a high level of competency in more than one military specialty. In today's scenario, the task force commander is staging forward himself towards Block 4, where the special force commander will meet him in subsequent actions.
Ladies and gentlemen, in peacekeeping mission, things may not happen as per the assumption and pre-designed planning. Unexpected resistance may compel to call for reinforcement. In this case, Special Force is inducted to neutralize the terrorist activities. It is to be noted that the Special Forces may also encounter unexpected fire from the miscreants while dropping or fast dropping from the helicopter. In that case, a helicopter should be at a hovering state at a distance to avoid terrorists firing.
Ladies and gentlemen, a serious exchange of firing is going on between the terrorists and the UN peacekeepers.
All the terrorists have concentrated themselves at their stronghold at
As you witness, a Bell 206 helicopter flying over the operation area to give close support to MI-171, ensuring secure landing of the special forces at the drop zone. Here to mention that Bell 206 is a light utility helicopter capable of providing limited combat support in a battle area. August gathering, you can see in today's scenario, this Bell 206 helicopter is an open door condition with armed peacekeepers at ready to fire posture. Now, led by Major Moshior, is approaching to the scene of incident.
Dear spectators, MI-171 is a versatile and all-weather aerial vehicle with diversified modern capabilities. Besides, the aerial vehicle.
Dear audience, on arrival of MI-171 at the operation area, the Special Force Commander is confirming the landing zone from the Task Force Commander. Here to note that Black Zero is denoted as call sign of Special Force.
Black 0 for Charlie 1 over. Charlie 1 send over. Black 0, we are near drop zone, requesting landing confirmation over. Charlie 1, landing at 04 confirmed, over.
Ladies and gentlemen, smoke screen has been created to
Respected audience, at this stage, the Special Force Commander is landing on the operation area by fast roping. This is the fastest means to induct the in operation area on a hovering state. MI-171 is capable of intuiting the troops into a battle area with a hovering height of 10 to 20 meters. In peacekeeping mission, things may not happen as per the assumption as we have said. In this case, Special Force is inducted to neutralize the terrorist activities. Ladies and gentlemen, on arrival at the scene of incident, the Special Force have organized themselves into various task groups as per the subdivision of the target area at Block 4. At this stage, the Special Force, where the Task Force Commander is briefing the Special Force Commander regarding the latest situation at Block 4.
see at your front. The task group commanders of special forces will move forward with their speed and agility and will clear the target.
Smoke screen has been created to hide the approaching peacekeepers during their forward movements at Block 4. Simultaneously, the smoke screen shall also indicate the specific location of drop zone. Usually, the location is designed where the task force commander will give specific report and orient the special force commander about the target.
Ladies and gentlemen, we can see that peacekeepers are proceeding forward to neutralize the last stronghold of the terrorists. It is to be mentioned that, as per the Charter of the Duties of United Nations to establish peace and stability of any United Nations invested area, any undue resistance has to be cleared off by force projection from the peacekeeper side.
Black 0 send over. Today is still one mission captured.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you have just heard, the first hut has been cleared by Special Force and clearance report has been given.
Cheetah 2, 1 terrorist killed, 2 SMG captured, and 1 terrorist detained. All team saved, mission to clear, start. Black 0 for Cheetah 2, well done.
Now, the second hut has been cleared off. From third hut.
Cheetah 4 for Black 0. Team saved, battle 5 is clear, start.
Finally, the fifth hut has been cleared off and completion report has been given. After neutralizing the terrorists, subsequently, the task force commander will declare the code word Blue Sky.
Keepers at Village Barrow.
This type of operation in UN mission area involves the peacekeepers of multinational forces. Peacekeeping members of different countries work together under the blue helmet to help the distressed people to uphold human rights and to establish peace.
Distinguished guests, may I draw your attention to the center of the village by close support. The Bill 206 with open door and armed peacekeepers is providing essential fire support to deal with any untoward eventualities. Respected audience, you can also see another Dolphin helicopter is approaching towards block. To mention that Bill 206 and Dolphin helicopters are capable of casualty evacuation in the battlefield, limited administrative support for transportation of combat supplies and other emergency needs. Now, a casualty evacuation is going to take place for the injured peacekeepers. On arrival of the pleasant incident,
Ladies and gentlemen, may I draw your attention towards left. An UN ambulance along with several microbuses are approaching to the scene of incident at Block 2. Team leader is still now tackling the situation with medical fast responders team to manage the victims of the operation. Respected spectators, the ambulance and civil microbuses will collect the inhabitants who need further medical attention. At the same time, the detainees are to be handed over to the native law enforcing agencies for dealing as per the law of the lands. The Women Protection Office for Coordination for Humanitarian Affairs, in short OCHA, even civil police, local police will play their active role and to do the needful for subsequent actions.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see at front, the victims of the miscreants are being handed over to civil police. After handing over the victims to the UN agencies and the miscreants to the civil police, the military peacekeepers are moving for consolidation. The villagers who have been sheltered so far thoughts. They will go back to their usual day-to-day activities with the conviction that there is no longer apprehension of violence and terrorist activities since the peacekeepers have successfully restored peace in village Baron. This is the mission of the peacekeepers, to establish the peace.
Cheers to carry on various assignments, peace operations including peace building activities, disaster, etc. Side by side, peacekeepers are to conduct robust peacekeeping operations like today's scenario. The villagers.
I humbly recall the millions who laid down their lives for the cause of our independence during our War of Liberation in 1971. I pay my sincere homage to those members of Bangladesh Army and all from the friendly foreign countries who have sacrificed their lives at home and abroad for the cause of peace. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great privilege and honor for us to have the Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, as our chief guest today. It is under her vibrant leadership, Bangladesh is prospering and turning into a golden Bangla, as dreamt by our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. As we are celebrating the golden jubilee of our independence and continuing the celebration of the birth centenary of our father of the nation, participation of the overseas friends added color to our celebration. Honorable Prime Minister, an August gathering. The title of the exercise is Shantir Agrashana, which means the front runner of peace, was a multinational military exercise organized in the fond of memories of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who was a promoter of peace and had outstanding contribution in making Bangladesh a peaceful and harmonious nation. This year, Bangabandhu is honored by the Government of India with the Mahatma Gandhi Peace Prize 2020 in recognition of his outstanding contribution to peace. Carrying forward the legacy of Bangabandhu, our Honorable Prime Minister is also a great promoter of peace. And under her able leadership, Bangladesh Army has progressed enormously. It is to her credit that Bangladesh Army is now the leading troops contributing country to the United Nations. In this exercise, a total of 10 countries contributed, either in the form of participants or observer. The countries are Bangladesh, Bhutan, France, India, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Turkey, and United States of America. Amongst these, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Sri Lankan army participated by contributing troops to participate in the exercise. The exercise was designed on the theme of robust peacekeeping. It also aimed to share knowledge amongst the members of participating countries to enhance the capabilities of the respective army to promote world peace. The exercise included subject matter expert exchange, field training exercise, and finally ending today with the culmination exercise. As a part of the exercise, Bangladesh Army also organized the Army Chiefs Conclave, where the challenges of peacekeeping and the possible role of the peacekeepers were presented through a seminar. I am certain that all the participating members of this exercise have been benefited and will carry forward their experience in discharging their future endeavors. I would like to congratulate all the participants and observers for their spontaneous participation, wholehearted contribution, and successful completion of this exercise. I am sanguine. The motto of this exercise, building peace together, has brought about a sense of strong bonding among the participating countries. At this point, I once again thank our Honorable Prime Minister for gracing the occasion as the chief guest of the closing ceremony of exercise Shantir Agrosena. Thank you all. May Bangladesh live long. Allah Hafiz.
This is one of the aspects we had discussed yesterday during the Chiefs Conclave. The deployment and necessity of having a female engagement team to look after the needs of women and children who always bear the brunt of atrocities in any conflict zone was amply demonstrated. As a result of this exercise, all the participating nations have learned a lot from each other and exchanged their best practices, thereby increasing interoperability between our armies. The overwhelming response from member countries, in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic, is reflective of a strong commitment towards UN peacekeeping operations under a UN mandate. The seminar, as well as the exercise, focused on robust peacekeeping operations, giving us valuable takeaways to reflect upon. I would like to express my appreciation to all the participants of exercise Shantir Agrosena who have jointly worked towards creating synergy and evolved a common understanding on robust peacekeeping operations. This exercise has been a grand success and has taught valuable lessons to all the troops participating in this exercise. I am sanguine that the camaraderie and friendship developed between the contingents during the course of this exercise will assist in refining techniques and procedures. Well done, Shabash, Tashidele, Fadai. I would also like to take this opportunity to compliment the Bangladesh Army, particularly GOC 19 Infantry Division and its entire team for conducting all the events with clockwork precision and outstanding professionalism. Long live the friendships that we have developed between our nations. To conclude, I would once again like to thank Her Excellency for affording us this opportunity to train together. Thank you all. Jai Bangla, Jai Hind.
Role of the United Nations peacekeepers. Respected audience, at the very outset, let me recall with earnest gratitude our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who inspired us for the war of liberation and for whom we are an independent nation today. I pay my tribute to all those 3 million martyrs, including all our valiant freedom fighters who sacrificed their life in 1971 during our War of Liberation and who are still alive. My sincere homage to our 1,886 Bangladeshi Armed Forces personnel who made supreme sacrifices in the line of duty, among which 124 personnel who laid their lives while performing duties as UN Nations peacekeepers. I also pay my tribute to all the fallen heroes of Indian Armed Forces, Indian Border Security Forces, and also those from Russia during our and immediately after our War of Liberation in 1971. Estimations, the year 2021 is very significant in the history of Bangladesh. As we continue to celebrate the birth centenary of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, this year also marks the golden jubilee of our independence, making the year a truly remarkable one. After receiving independence, Bangladesh became the 136th member state of the United Nations on 17 September 1974, and Bangladesh Army started participating in United Nations peacekeeping since 1988. Till today, Bangladesh Army has completed 54 missions successfully and is currently deployed in 8 peacekeeping missions in 8 different countries. Since the end of Cold War, the form of conflict has changed significantly. Today, conventional warfare between states is declining and conflicts are largely intra-state and often internationalized. Now most conflicts are fought or sustained by multiple non-state actors, including militia groups, religious extremists, organized crime groups, etc. Another particular distressing aspect of today's conflict is the widespread use of children as soldiers and targeting innocent civilians, especially the women. Such a shift in the trend of conflicts poses dynamic challenges to the United Nations peacekeeper in implementing their mandated task of protecting civilians, children, and women. Countries like Mali, Central Africa, Republic, and South Sudan also pose the challenge of conflict being spilled across national borders. Consequently, peacekeeping is becoming more complex and multi-dimensional. While peacekeeping has become more deeply involved in resolving such crises, the United Nations is facing difficulties in addressing the complex needs of the mandates vis-a-vis the ground reality. A few significant challenges currently faced by the peacekeepers are peacekeeping environment now feature armed groups, terrorists, organized crime groups, street gangs, etc., thereby making the era of Chapter 6 style peacekeeping outdated. Chapter 6 of the United Nations Charter promotes peaceful settlement of disputes through peaceful methods such as negotiation, inquiry, mediation, arbitration, etc. Some troops or police contributing countries are still gripped by Chapter 6 syndrome, which is refraining them from using force when essential. Failure to demonstrate the required operational behavior in the field due to a defensive posture gives freedom to hostile forces grab the initiative, which has severe consequences in the operating environment. Contemporary United Nations peace operations are conducted in high-risk environment where the peacekeepers face complex and asymmetric security threat or violent extremists who also target the peacekeepers. Despite limited capabilities, peacekeepers are mandated to protect civilians or stabilize the security situation. In addition, they also face spoilers or are asked to proactively disuse spoilers. The situation becomes more challenging as the peacekeepers are confronted with other threats like bombs or mortar attacks, ambushes, IEDs, hostage situation, and other asymmetric threats which are likely to continue in the future. Overstressed deployment often imposes frequent long and slow supply convoys along roads in very bad condition. Such movement facilitates attacks against the United Nations by various armed groups. Large footprints are also compelled some missions to dedicate about 90% of their operational capacity in escorting convoys and self-protection duties. This reduces the operational capability of the forces. In missions like MONUSCO and MINUSMA, situations often demand overstressed deployment of contingents across vast areas, which affects the operational efficiency of the force. United Nations Security Council Resolution 2242 recognizes that women's participation is critical in the prevention and resolution of armed conflicts, including post-conflict peace building and development. By the year 2028, the target for women serving in military contingent is 15%. For military observers and staff officers, it is 25%. And for formed police units, it is 20%. Since 2015, the overall rate of women in peacekeeping has shown an increase in the participation, and as on 2020, women constitute 4.8% of military contingent and 10.9% of formed police units. These low numbers can be attributed to under-recruitment of women in the military and police services, barrier for women to access the required training, and cultural factors against accepting overseas deployment. Political issues are also making the United Nations peacekeeping operations challenging. Constant and political will of the host country, post-conflict political stability highly influences smooth functioning of peacekeeping operations. International financial support from all the United Nations member countries is needed to sustain United Nations peacekeeping operations. Fund deficiencies will always affect the forces deployed or to be deployed. In addition, misconduct, human rights violation, abuse of military forces, and gross misbehaviors such as abusing the local populations, black marketing, illegal business, etc. also challenge the effectiveness of United Nations peacekeeping operations. In response to the global COVID-19 pandemic, peace operations across various missions are conducting essential functions only. Some missions have suspended their quick impact projects and are now reallocating these funds to support the efforts of local and national institutions to sustain the spread of COVID-19. Such shift of resources is likely to affect the ability of missions to achieve their mandated benchmark and objectives. In the context of the pandemic, peace operations budget may shrink. Troops contributing country may prioritize domestic operations. Host populations may become hostile to foreigners, and some host governments may use COVID-19 as a pretext to limit a mission's freedom of movement. August gathering, United Nations peacekeeping has proven to be an essential instrument for global peace and security over the years. The peacekeeping operations around the world today illustrate the wide range of mechanisms, strategies, and resources that the United Nations marshals in support of peace and security. As peacekeepers are getting deployed in difficult and complex environments, the demand for effective peacekeeping has also increasing significantly. By exploring potential solutions to the challenges, it will be possible to anticipate where current approaches need revision or reconsideration. Few measures to face the challenges are to gain political solutions to conflicts and enhance the political impact on peacekeeping. Military components in the field missions should prioritize comprehensive approaches to address the threats posed by the armed groups, coupled with political engagement and national and local authorities. To strengthen the protection provided by peacekeeping operations, military components in the field missions should support capacity building of the state and develop an integrated approach to protection with the United Nations country team. Mission headquarters should continuously review the footprint to ensure a strong and proactive protection posture, enhance zonal policing in protection of civilians' sites, promote more robust patrols, increase local dialogue efforts, and improve early warning system. In addition, improving the coordination between civilian, police and military components at local and national level, and using strategic communication to promote community initiatives can assist in solving many challenges. To improve performance, military components in the field missions should implement tailored action plan and work closely with rule of law institutions to raise awareness about crimes committed against peacekeepers. Besides, to ensure accountability of peacekeepers, troops contributing countries and military components in the field missions should undertake systematic investigation of incidents of performance failure and conduct assessment of operational effectiveness. Implementing community-based information sharing protocol with humanitarian organizations can also improve the conduct and discipline of the deployed forces, including sexual exploitation and abuse incidents. There is a need to have a balance between situation awareness vis-a-vis critical decision making by the mission, military leadership and prioritization of tasks as per available resources. Peacekeepers need to conduct special operations with intelligence, law enforcement and protective security services to counter multiple asymmetric threats. Mission authority also needs to identify the uncommitted assets in several areas or are access to the operational needs and can detach them for active operations. Such provisions may be incorporated in the mission documents. Introduction of sophisticated technology will be a great help for the contingents to face multidimensional threats. Appropriate equipment like armored personnel carriers, mine-resistant ambush protection vehicles, IED suit, NBC suit, special rifle for snipers, night vision capability, laser aiming system, unarmed aerial vehicle, etc. has proven to be very useful. At the same time, the United Nations should provide an updated interpretation of the basic principles of peacekeeping, which do not restrict initiative and use of force. The principle should clarify that in high-risk areas or in high-intensity countries, troops should use force and can be proactive. Last but not the least, Department of Peace Operations should provide a framework for institution building and capacity development ventures to make the peacekeepers more adaptive and versatile. As a whole, the peacekeepers should strive hard to achieve and sustain operational effectiveness and promote international peace and security by undertaking capacity and capability development efforts. Learned audience, United Nations peacekeeping helps countries navigate the difficult path from conflict to peace. Bangladesh Army, being one of the leading troops contributors, undertakes various endeavors for effective peacekeeping and promoting peace worldwide. Some of our major efforts are: we conduct an 11 months human research development program to prepare a mission-going contingent. Concentration and training starts before 1 year of development, which include 3 levels of pre-deployment training, initially under formation responsibility and thereafter by Bangladesh Institute of Peace Support Operation Training, BIPSOT. These training includes specific mission orientation, language proficiency, special equipment handling, and all other training curricula as suggested by the United Nations. Till date, all Bangladesh contingents achieved very high standard of operational effectiveness inspection before deployment. In accordance with the current United Nations requirement of smaller, mobile, and heavily equipped quick reaction force, Bangladesh Army has prepared 5 QRF or Quick Reaction Force under United Nations Peacekeeping Capability Readiness System, including 1 at rapid deployment level. We are also procuring a good number of armored personnel carriers, light armored vehicles to improve the capability of the existing contingent and ensure our effective response to multidimensional threats. Considering the current mission specific requirement, we are conducting extensive mechanized training and replacing the APCs with mine-resistant ambush protection vehicles in various missions. Bangladesh Army has established a separate logistic depot named Overseas Operation Logistic Depot to support the logistic requirement of the United Nations contingents. For ensuring timely deployment, we are also sending our National Carrier Bangladesh Biman under letter of assistance to various mission areas. Currently, we are planning to employ our transport aircraft of Army Aviation for speedy replacement of tools, equipment, accessories which are urgent in nature. As the IIT threats are increasing, Bangladesh Army is training in MINUSMA contingent on counter-ID by United Nations Mine Action Services instructors who are currently deployed in Mali. We have also coordinated and invited the UNMAS instructors from Entebbe to train our contingents who are likely to be deployed in various mission areas. And to increase the surveillance capability of the contingent, we are now preparing a drone subunit to be deployed in the mission areas. Currently, the female participation of Bangladesh Army officers and soldiers is 1.91% only in a contingent. We are undertaking efforts to raise the strength of female members at 5% by 2022. In terms of staff officers and observers, our current female participation percentage is 12.2%. We are very pleased that our female peacekeepers are praised in all the mission areas for their dedication and competence. August gathering, the nature of conflict continues to shift from clashes between regular forces to bands of relatively untrained locals and non-state actors. Such transformation has made civilians, especially children and women, more vulnerable and now posing multi-dimensional challenges to the peacekeepers. Based on such challenging scenario, the United Nations peacekeeping is also gradually shifting to a robust approach. As such, the troops or police contributing countries also need to embrace the new approach of peacekeeping by developing own capability and becoming more adaptive to new challenges. As such, there is a clear need of better preparedness, training, protection, coordination, and surveillance of the deployed forces. United Nations peacekeeping operations is a vital instrument employed by the international community for peace and security. Over 72 years, United Nations peacekeeping has evolved to meet the demand of the different countries and a changing political landscape. Military being the backbone of most peacekeeping operations, therefore need to prepare, undertake sensible efforts to improve performance and act appropriately in promoting peace and making the world a better place. I hope this seminar will be able to bring forward the challenges of peacekeeping, the possible ways to overcome the challenges, and the desired role of the peacekeepers from highly experienced and knowledgeable speakers, and also from the participationers who are currently leading the military forces in various United Nations missions. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May Bangladesh live long.
To mark this landmark occasion, the relations between Bangladesh and India are anchored in a shared history and a common heritage, a history of struggle for freedom and liberation. We take great pride in our role and contribution during the War of Liberation. The blood and valor of the martyrs of both nations is written in gold in the annals of history. The world by and large is slowly recovering from a year-long fight with the COVID pandemic. However, the last 1 year has seen unprecedented changes. The disruptive powers of the pandemic have been adequately demonstrated and acknowledged. We have seen the change compressed in time and come to accept that many things will never be the same again. The total breakdown of global supply chains have caused us to pause and reflect on their frailty and vulnerability, forcing us to re-engineer our dependencies and explore local solutions to local problems. So there is little denying that change is upon us like never before. And the real driver for this rapid pace of change is the advances made in technology. Successive technological revolutions are occurring at smaller and smaller intervals. The advent of rapidly evolving dual-use technologies present new opportunities and are changing the very character of warfare. In my talk today, I shall share my views on this changing character of conflict and the role of UN peacekeepers in this new paradigm. As two of the largest troop contributing nations to the United Nations, the subject holds special relevance in the context of India and Bangladesh. The character of warfare has been constantly evolving over the years, albeit the pace has picked up in recent times. The nature of war, in terms of organized nature of violence, in terms of the blood and gore, in terms of the victor imposing his will on the vanquished, is constant and unchanging. As to how wars will be fought in terms of weapons, technology, and the strategic context, however, changes rapidly. So while the nature of war is constant, the character keeps evolving and changing. Since the nature of war is unchanging, force and violence have not disappeared. They have only manifested in newer forms. This change has panned out in various conflicts around the world in the year gone by. We have seen how the very imaginative and offensive use of drones in Idlib and then in Armenia, Azerbaijan, shaped the outcome of these conflicts. We have also seen how disruptive technologies are now driving doctrinal cycles like never before. It may not be inaccurate, therefore, to infer that technology itself is steadily emerging as a core combat capability. Niche technologies like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, 5G, autonomous and unmanned systems, precision technology, etc., have become the new drivers of this technological revolution. Wars are no longer confined to the customary hardcore kinetics, but are increasingly being contested in the ambiguous grey zone. This is characterized by ambiguity, uncertainty, and a careful, premeditated risk escalation to keep actions below the threshold of all-out war. In the grey zone, militaries play to the edge. Geostrategic spaces are being constructed without altering the state of peace. Geostrategic realities are being altered without a shot being fired. The rather traditional and simplistic, straight-jacketed war and peace disposition has therefore lost its relevance in the face of vigorous jostling for competitive spaces short of all-out conflict. In this no war, no peace state of flux, asymmetric use of technology is likely to render the conventional military might redundant to a certain extent. Conflicts are also steadily moving into new domains of space, cyber, and informatics. Mere mastery of the traditional domains is not adequate. Yet another character of this changing conflict paradigm is a threat posed by new actors, both state and non-state, and again both in the kinetic and non-kinetic spaces. Military threats are assuming a transnational form with external linkages to global organizations with similar agendas and ideologies. Armed conflicts are turning intractable and harder to resolve due to the rise of transnational illicit networks, increasing internationalization of civil wars or local conflicts, and involvement of violent extremist groups. With non-military means increasingly gaining importance, multi-domain operations are going to be the norm in the future, and the lines of operation will present an amalgamation of threats. Armed forces the world over would need to adapt to this change to remain relevant and effective. In order to illustrate my point, I would like to relate it to the game of cricket, which we in the subcontinent understand better than anyone else. The form and character of the game has evolved from the traditional test cricket to the limited overs and now to the 2020. Although the overall nature of the game remains the same, the skill sets for the shorter version and of course the approach to the game itself is significantly different. While the longer version of the game affords time to adjust and adapt to the conditions, the shorter format demands far greater mental and physical agility. Every delivery wasted is a lost opportunity. You also require more all-rounders, players with multiple skills, ready to assume different roles. You can't expect to win a 2020 match if you are training and preparing for the test cricket mode. And I think that is applicable in all forms. Therefore, armies need to change and change quickly. Our force structures, doctrines and strategy, rules of engagement, capability development initiatives need to be aligned to the evolving security paradigm. But unfortunately, that has not always been the case. Armies are conservative by nature and guilty not only preparing for the wrong war, but the last war. That is a simple truth of history, that warfare evolves faster than warfighters do. These challenges are also equally applicable to troops operating under the UN mandate in some of the most difficult and conflict-inflicted areas in the world. We need to be seen and need to be understood in this contemporary threat scenario. The United Nations by far remains the most internationally represented multilateral organization, mandated with the role of maintaining international peace and security. Pursuant to its charter, the UN objectives include protecting human rights, delivering humanitarian aid, promoting sustainable development, and upholding international law. UN peacekeeping is a unique, important, complex, diverse, and dynamic instrument that is built on global partnerships. Each operation is based on basic principles of peacekeeping, that is consent, impartiality, and non-use of force except in self-defense and in defense of the mandate. As you would agree, the changes in conflict dynamics have generated a range of challenges to UN peacekeeping operations. Originally designed to support interstate ceasefires and peace agreements, modern peacekeeping operations have transformed to address intrastate conflicts, failed and fragile states, and situations involving asymmetric use of force, including from violent extremist groups. Moreover, growth of non-state actors wielding new technologies, transnational illicit networks, and globally connected violent extremist groups, as I mentioned earlier, pose new challenges. Some of you would have seen the recent report by UN investigation team of experts on the deadly missile strike at the Aden airport in Yemen last December that left 22 dead. Only the Houthi rebels, says the report, possess the ability and technology to undertake this kind of a strike. These potent capabilities, which earlier were the preserve of the state, are now today in the hands of terror organizations and non-state actors. These developments will have to be factored in while planning UN peacekeeping operations. Moreover, shifting geopolitical and regional dynamics are further challenging the UN's ability to exert influence over conflicts sustained by proxies and regional interests. It is evident that economic constraints in the aftermath of the pandemic will have a direct bearing on budgetary support to various peacekeeping operations. And therefore, in keeping with the trend worldwide, peacekeeping missions will also have to transform themselves from manpower intensive to technologically oriented missions. The emerging trends of conflict, most notably the influence of niche technologies, the impact of climate change on security, and rapid urbanization or migration will alter risk profiles around the world and have major implications on design and conduct of peacekeeping operations. The effect of these trends on peacekeepers and their roles in managing conflicts needs to be understood and analyzed to address the issue in right earnest. Even the UN organs will need to shed some of their old practices to adapt to these changes. As part of the UN's new strategic thought, the UN Secretary General has stressed upon the requirement of conflict prevention and peace building rather than on peacekeeping. This calls for a proactive and integrated, multidimensional effort involving political, civilian, and military lines of operation. The focus of peacekeeping operations should hence be to create favorable conditions to include disarmament and neutralization of negative forces, establishing rule of law and protection of civilians. The transformation required for transition from a volatile conflict situation to a stable political and social environment requires concerted and coordinated efforts from all agencies involved. The troop contributing nations need to analyze the overall operational and political situation to effectively prepare their contingents to meet these challenges. With increasing deployment span of some peacekeeping operations, missions may be deployed for long durations, with little prospect of securing a sustainable peace. With the changing conflict dynamics, the UN should be pragmatic in defining the mandate of the mission, and the designing of peacekeeping operations should be based on a realistic exit strategy with definable objectives and missions. Peacekeeping partnerships must translate into discernible results to greater clarity on mandated tasks, timely deployment of capabilities, greater readiness to implement critical mandated tasks, and the ability of swift response in crisis. The UN has successfully partnered with regional organizations for enhanced operational effectiveness. For example, the deployment of African Union troops in Somalia. Due to changes in conflict dynamics, the UN needs to invest more in such partnerships. The troop contributing nations need to build capacities to ensure interoperability with regional forces under the UN mandate in order to reduce time and costs. The evolving nature of conflicts mandates the requirement of maintaining a reserve of peacekeepers within the conflict zone or within the member states as rapidly deployable forces with strategic mobility and tactical mobility through dedicated mobility assets and logistic echelons capable of rapid and swift deployment around the globe, as was also mentioned by General Aziz in his talk. The lines of operation, primarily based on the mandate of the peacekeepers, need to also incorporate emanating threats. The UN should facilitate a whole of mission approach with unhindered support of assets at the UN's disposal. The suggested lines of operation may include one or all of intelligence-based operations against negative forces or spoilers, protection of civilians and human rights, and extending the rule of law, integration of parties through dialogue, disarmament, and trust, campaigns to highlight the impact of peacekeeping operations, building capabilities and capacities of host organizations and forces. The conduct of operations at the tactical level should include a combination of kinetic and non-kinetic means as defined in the rules of engagement. The operations should be supported by force enablers in terms of ISR, communication, mobility, force protection, and flexible logistic support. The essential aspects of operations should include the ability to project force capable of undertaking the mandated tasks, including protection of civilians and force preservation. There is an inescapable need to technologically enable the peacekeepers to effectively manage situations in operational areas. The contributing countries need to provide the tactical force multipliers like UAVs, surveillance devices, and modern communication equipment to their contingents. Infusion of technology and force multipliers like aviation and logistic assets will remove limitations and enable the contingents to thwart challenges in achieving their mandate. The changing nature of geopolitics and the evolving character of wars will together challenge the traditional concepts of conflict resolution. The role and approach of the UN in modern conflict scenarios will also need to evolve and adapt to remain effective and relevant. As is true for the armed forces, even the United Nations would need to shed legacy structures and processes to align with contemporary challenges. There is therefore the need to reevaluate the structures and processes, embrace creativity, and adopt flexible doctrines. I would like to conclude by acknowledging the efforts of the BIMSTEC countries in peacekeeping operations, and I am sanguine that we would continue to live up to our reputation of professionalism, impartiality, and a humane approach. I wish you all good luck and Godspeed. Thank you.